Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and basically in this video we're going to be talking about creating a GraphQL API. I've done a video before where I've talked about creating a GraphQL API using Apollo Server. So if you want to create your own GraphQL API from scratch, that would be the tutorial I refer to. Hasura, which is what I'm going to be using in this video, what it does is that it kind of automatically generates the API for you, so you don't actually have to code the server and all the mutations and the queries. It just makes it happen, and it's actually really cool. Essentially, what it does is you get it set up, and everything is visual. You have a back-end GUI that will allow you to actually create your database. So you'll be able to create all your tables and your fields from there, and then it just automatically generates a CRUD set of mutations and queries for you. So you can grab them, edit them, update them, create them, delete them, without having to think much about it. So let's just kind of show you how that all works. So let's head over to my screen. Okay, and this is like the Hasura docs, and literally I'm gonna get started with Heroku. So there's two ways. It has like two instructions of how to get started with Heroku and Docker, because there's some like automated ways of doing it. So I'm gonna use Heroku, and it's literally going to be a button that just literally makes it. Like, you just click this deploy to Heroku button, and it takes you to this screen on your Heroku account where you'll be able to create a name for your new project. And it'll take a moment because it's Heroku, and sometimes Heroku takes a moment. So if you don't have a Heroku account, go get one. It's free. Okay, and we'll just give it a name. We'll call it Hasura Tester. Okay, and I'm gonna call this Hasura Tester AM, my initials, so that we have a unique name. Okay, it's gonna automatically kind of create a Postgres database with it. You don't have to worry about that. You just hit deploy app, and that's gonna deploy it. It's gonna take a second, and then just wait for it to say complete. And ta-da! Your API has essentially already been deployed. That's pretty cool. Okay, and it works very well. I'm pretty impressed. But we'll give it a moment, finish what it's doing. There we go. So once it's done, you're gonna click on View App. It'll take a moment to do its initial load, so you just give it the time and patience. And here we go. And this is cool. Like, gives you everything here right in this GUI. Now, one of the things you do want to do like right away is secure your endpoint. So you'll click on Secure Your Endpoint, and it'll take you to a screen where you will set, you have to set up an environmental variable. So basically this just tells you that you need to set up an environmental variable on Heroku. Okay, and you basically, what you do is you create this environmental variable, and you put in whatever you want your like little secret code, and basically it's always going to look for that in the headers. Okay, for the API key to work. So I'm going to put just a practice one for now. Let's see here, create new app. We already did that, so let's go to my Heroku dashboard. Okay, I got lots of projects. Where's the one we just did? Hasura Tester right there. And we're gonna go to settings, and then we're gonna go to reveal config vars. Okay, we need to create one that's called Hasura GraphQL admin secret. Okay, so let's do that. Hasura admin GraphQL secret. Just make sure I got that right. Hasura GraphQL admin secret. So good thing I checked. Okay. GraphQL admin secret. And I'm just going to use the word practice for now. I'll change it later after we're done with this video. Okay, cool. Add. Good. So now what's going to happen is if I refresh this, it's going to ask me for my secret before I can actually access this admin panel. So this way, other people, if they try to access your admin panel without your secret, they can't. Okay, see, so it asked me for, I put in practice. Okay, cool. Okay, so if you're familiar with GraphQL, you probably recognize graphical, which is a tool for kind of exploring the API and forming your API calls. We'll come back to that. But what's more important, we need to actually have data in our database. Okay, so instead of having to sit there and do a bunch of SQL commands in your terminal, you can just go here, create a table. So we'll call this table people. And we're going to say there's a column called, well, we'll have a first an ID column, of course. And that'll be an integer. Okay, that's got to be unique. Okay, then we're going to have a column called name. That is text. And we'll have a name, a column called age, which is an integer. And that's all good. The primary key will be the ID. There's no foreign keys, so if you need to connect another table in your database, you can do that from there. And that's good. Let's add this table. Okay, and it creates this table for me. And now I can go insert rows into this table. So we'll say, here's me, Alex Merced, age 34. Save. Good. And now we'll go back to graphical. Okay, and here we see we can go here, say, okay, we're looking to query the people table. We want just the age and we want just the name of different people. Now if I run that query and see I get this result, people name Alex. Okay, but if I wanted, and that's the beauty of GraphQL, you don't have to ask for all the information like you would with traditional API endpoints. I can just ask for the information I need. So I can say, but if I do need all the information, I can be like name, age, ID. Cool. But idea is I can create my query using this, and that's the great thing about these visual tools with GraphQL too. I can create my query here, see what information I get, make sure that I'm getting the information I expect before I actually build out my API. So now what we're going to do is we're going to head over to Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to show you how you just make generic calls to a GraphQL database. So first I need to get the URL. That's the URL to my other practice one. So let me get here. I can find the URL here. And notice it's a post request. So even though I'm getting information, the way GraphQL works is you're sending this query string. So this is really going to be a string that we send over to GraphQL. So this is why every request has to be a post request. Now, oftentimes, if you're using something like Apollo Client or other front-end GraphQL libraries, you don't realize this because it does it for you. But I wanted to show you guys just basically how you could just use standard good old fetch to go fetch some GraphQL queries. So we'll grab that URL there. Okay, we're going to put that as our fetch endpoint. Cool. And again, in our configuration object for fetch, basically it's a method post. Okay, we have to put it in two headers, content type application JSON, so that we knows what kind of data it's getting back. And then we have to put our secret. So x Hasura admin secret, practice is the header there. Okay, because practice is our secret at the moment. And then the body, we're going to string of JSON.stringify this object. The object has a key called query, which is the string, which is not the whole string, but just this part of the string. Okay, actually I think it's more like this part of the string. Copy. Okay, actually no, a little bit more. It's really going to be all this, just not the part before that. There we go. Copy. We copy that. We'll replace that over this. Okay, and that's it. Okay, And just like normal fetch stuff, we'll do a dot then. We'll take the response, parse the JSON, then do another dot then where we take that JSON that's been just parsed, and we'll console log it so you can see that you got what you got. So save. All right, first I'm going to start off by just console logging the response, not the cool. So let's see here. Let's open up that index.html file that this is attached to. Right over here. Open with live server. Okay, now let me hit the inspector. Okay, let's bring up the console a little bit. So we got this object here, and if we take a look in the site, see there's data, there's our people, and inside there's the name, Alex Merced, age 31 ID. It worked. Okay, cool. So there you go. I mean, literally in this just a little bit over 10 minutes, we've created an API, we've set up the database with some data, and then tested the endpoint, and then actually made a call, an actual API call from the front end, all within the span of one video. Now here's the problem, okay, just so you're aware if you use Hasura. So right now we need to have that, we need to give away our key in the header. So the problem is that creates a security issue. So if you just make a call from the front end like this, you're going to end up exposing your key, which means people can go log into your admin panel and have fun with your thing. So how do you do that? One way you can do it is you can use JSON Web Tokens. So if you read the Hasura documentation, it kind of walks through that. So basically you have to kind of set up a separate authentication server. So you could do this with Express, and essentially you would send the request to this authentication server. It would send back a JSON Web Token, and then that JSON Web Token would then be used to go make the request, would be then sent in the headers, and then that would take the place of giving the secret key, and that JSON Web Token has to have certain information in it, and then you'll be able to actually make queries to there. And you can also create different levels of users. Like we go back over here to our actual API here. There's a bunch of stuff we can do here to secure. Okay, again, there's stuff we have to do there. A bunch of cool stuff you can do. Okay, but setting up sort of like those user settings and limiting access is another thing that is important to do, and doing security. But hey, just setting up the API itself is pretty darn easy using Hasura. So then you can just focus on authentication and authorization and building out your front end. So this is pretty cool. I am a fan of Hasura. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. My name is Alex Merced from Alex Merced.